wherever you may be and however you may be listening. We're live in Los Angeles, iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, and FS1. 1 hour from now, not only 1 hour from now, where Colin was right, where Colin was wrong. Good one today. Alex Rodriguez shows up at the top of next hour. A-Rod. We got Manny Machado, Bryce Harper, baseball.
Yeah, Oscars last night.
A-Rod in the house today. So Joy Taylor, of course, joining me.
Good morning.
Watched a little Oscars last night. I was thinking about this, Joy. In sports, it's really important that the star buys in. Tim Duncan always bought into Greg Popovich, so much so he took pay cuts. And Tom Brady bought into New England, so much so he took pay cuts. Buy-in. I mean, if Tim Duncan's taking pay cuts, if Tom Brady's taking pay cuts, D. Wade, for all of his big years in Miami, bought into Pat Riley. And Pat Riley would make trades and moves. When the star buys in, it changes everything because people know. LeBron, and this is why the Laker-LeBron thing hasn't worked so far, he's never bought in. Some of it's not his fault. This roster isn't guys he'd connect with. It's young guys he doesn't really respect yet. And then it's old knuckleheads and one-year contract guys he doesn't relate to. LeBron bought into Cleveland for the first 6 years until he was worn down. He bought into Miami. He bought into Kevin Love and Kyrie for a couple years. He didn't buy into this team. He didn't have any close friends on it. Miami felt like an absolute buy-in day one. Duncan, Brady, you got to buy in. And let's be brutally honest, we're 59 games into the season. There's no juice. There's no energy with the Lakers. It didn't even feel big. I'll be the first to admit, I thought this would feel big. It's not about you predicted 43 wins. I predicted 48. Some predicted 45. But we all predicted, well, this would feel big. Lakers plus LeBron. This has never felt big. There's no juice. There's no energy. I mean, LeBron looks around. He's like, Brandon Ingram, has he hit a ceiling? Lonzo Ball hurt again. Luke Walton couldn't win when I was gone. Defensively, zero consistency all year. I mean, you can even hear it when LeBron talks. You can tell he's still trying to figure it out. When the star doesn't buy in, you can feel it. It's palpable, and the players know it. Then the stories come out and the trade rumors come out where they're all basically furniture about to be moved, and they go from he didn't buy into he really doesn't like us. Here was LeBron after getting thrashed this weekend by the Pelicans, who didn't even have AD.
Well, how many know what's at stake? You've never been there. In the last few years, everybody's so accustomed to the losses that I'm just not accustomed to. I'm not accustomed to it. I would never get comfortable with losing. Losing game 1 to Houston, it feels the same way as losing game 59 in New Orleans for me. That's just how I'm built. That's who I am.
You know what this reminds me of a little bit? Aaron Rodgers last year. Aaron Rodgers, like LeBron, gets hurt, is not really playing at 100%. And there were all these stories about McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers that Aaron no longer bought in. And the team sensed it. And Green Bay got derailed after that injury, and they never really got momentum. It's the same thing. LeBron had a little buzz early. Then LeBron got hurt, derailed, comes back, not 100%. He doesn't buy into Luke, doesn't buy into the young guys, doesn't buy into Lance. You can sense it. Bill Plaschke of the LA Times is at every Laker game. And, I brought him on my radio show a couple of weeks ago, and he noticed it.
You can ask anybody within an organization. It's like he's his own company, his own brand, his own element. He's his own planet. And he's orbiting around the Lakers, but he's not landed and connected with the Lakers at all. And yes, and they feel it. You know what the team leader is Rajon Rondo. He's their leader. They love him. The kids love him. You saw how much he celebrated when he came back and beat Boston with that shot. That was real. But he's mentoring them. He's helping them. He's leading them. What's LeBron doing? Putting up some good numbers and playing, but not as engaged and as invested as he should be in any of this.
Yeah, I think it's really obvious. By the way, I don't think Anthony Davis, even if he comes to Los Angeles, solves their biggest problem, which is they don't have enough shooters, and LeBron knows it. LeBron's not necessarily worked well with big guys. He didn't work great all the time with Chris Bosh. He didn't work great all the time with Kevin Love. He was great with Kyrie. He works with shooters. Anthony Davis, he doesn't solve that. Lakers are 28th in three-point shooting, 29th in free throw percentage. Anthony Davis doesn't solve those issues. He makes the Lakers better and more interesting, but he didn't solve their biggest issue. They're a lousy shooting team in a shooter's league. This year, though, it's never felt big. The West was already good, and then Houston, a good team, added Kenneth Faried. They're better. And then Portland was already good, and they added Rodney Hood and Enes Kanter. They're better. And Oklahoma City just added Marquise Morris. Oh, they're better. Like, let's just admit it. I'm wrong on this. It's not the win total. I could still get to 48, what I predicted. But it has never, ever, ever felt big. It's disappointing. Chris Mannix, First Things First, talked about their biggest flaw.
There are not enough guys in that locker room that have real equity in that team. LeBron knows he's a Laker for the next 3-4 years or whatever. How many other guys in that locker room can say that? And I think that matters. I think when you have to dig deep in moments like this, how many of those guys think, oh, I'm not going to be here that much longer anyway. I'm playing for myself anyway. You got half the team is on one-year contracts. They're basically mercenaries out there. I think that's a major factor in this team kind of crumbling over these last couple of weeks.
I completely agree. When the star doesn't physically and emotionally buy in, Aaron Rodgers this year in Green Bay, LeBron with the Lakers, everybody in the shop can sense it. Let's shift to this. Interesting comment, NFL. There's two great wide receivers in the NFL, Antonio Brown and Odell Beckham Jr. And they have been in trade rumors a lot in the last few months. I would go out and get Odell Beckham Jr. I would not go out and get Antonio Brown. Story dropped this weekend that 3 teams have reached out to the Steelers, meaning 28 teams have not reached out to the Steelers. And I think there's one big reason here. First of all, we all know that you can win Super Bowls without a superstar receiver. Seattle did it. New England just did it. Julio Jones didn't make the playoffs. Cowboys were better without Dez Bryant. New England wins a Super Bowl with a slot receiver. So the value of even Randy Moss, who set records in New England, when the playoffs arrived, he was really never spectacular with New England. He had a couple of one-catch games on those super years. Weather gets colder, windier, playing outdoors, January. Big play receivers, to me, have always been more icing than cake, especially in the playoffs. But there's a reason that Antonio Brown's on the market and reportedly Odell Beckham is, and why I'd pass on one and take the other. Because when you look at the Pittsburgh situation, and I think this is what's happening, people are like, dude, you're in the perfect spot. Big Ben is a deep ball thrower. Mike Tomlin, incredibly tolerant of players and egos and personalities. The offensive line's good enough to allow the quarterback time to throw a deep ball. You've got a really good receiver on the other side, so they can't constantly double-team you. And this is a winning organization. People around the league look at Antonio Brown and think, it's the old thing about, why are you getting a divorce? You're married to the perfect person. Odell Beckham's got arguments. Odell Beckham's with the Giants. 3 coaches, 4 years. Quarterback's a shot fighter. They're about 7 to 8 guys minimum from winning a Super Bowl. They don't have a roster that's close to Philadelphia or close to Dallas in their own division. I'm not sure it's as good as Washington. Odell Beckham has thrived statistically in chaos the last 3 or 4 years. Antonio Brown is complaining about what I perceive and many perceive as a virtually ideal situation. Again, I'll say it. Given the option, I'd take Odell Beckham Jr. in a heartbeat. In fact, my biggest concern with Odell has always been health. He's a little smaller, broken ankle, but $192. I worry over time, 8-9 years, can he stay healthy? I think he's a better version of Deshaun Jackson as an athlete, though. Unbelievable. Antonio Brown, I don't worry about his health. I should love him. But if you can't work as a wide receiver in Pittsburgh, What? I am going to look at your situation. I'm not saying it's perfect in Pittsburgh, but it is a lot better in Pittsburgh than about 80% of the teams in this league. There's a lot of dysfunction in the NFL. Odell Beckham is thriving mostly surrounded by utter chaos, a shot quarterback, a bad O-line, and a merry-go-round of coaches. Antonio Brown, can you imagine Odell Beckham Jr. in Pittsburgh? Can you imagine OBJ in Pittsburgh? Oh, my God. Randy Moss, your record's erased. So I think what hurts him here, sometimes you see people leave companies and you're like, what are you doing? You see people leave marriages. What are you doing? Don't confuse OBJ and Antonio Brown. AB's great, pass. OBJ, you think he's got issues? Sign him any day, especially if I have a quarterback like Big Ben. Good stuff today. A-Rod will be joining us next hour. Baseball season's around the corner. A couple of massive stars in baseball. One signed, one is unsigned, Bryce Harper. Catino Mobley, Chris Broussard this hour, where Colin was right, where Colin was wrong. I'm going to call my shot. People think the Celtics are dysfunctional. I'm going to call my shot next, defending Boston. And I'll just put it out there. Hold me to it. John, make sure you're taping next segment. Let's put this one on tape, if we could. If you haven't tried the incredibly delicious, high-quality meats from Butcher Box, you're going to be blown away. It brings you meat the way it's meant to be. Unbelievable flavor,